Okay, so live with Daddy, Why Did God Make YECs with Otangelo? And I'm kind of waiting for it to show up on YouTube so I can shut the sound off because it's gonna it's gonna interfere with me. YouTube doesn't let you shut the sound off in advance. Anyway, Otangelo, you want to give us a little introduction?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm Swiss Italian. I live 24 years here in Brazil now. I'm a Christian for 36 years, and my focus has always been to have a dialogue with atheists since I converted with 18. And I think about 5, 6 years ago, I started to study with more intensity molecular biology. So my focus is on um, origins and molecularology, and that involves abiogenesis, evolution, as well philosophy and astrophysics, origins of the universe. Everything actually that has to do with worldviews, with God, atheism, that is focus of my interest.
Okay.
I think that's
So,
basically it.
okay. How long have you been a young Earth creationist?
I actually started studying these things more closely when I married with my wife 13, 14 years ago, because her father was a geologist and an old Earth creationist. So I began actually as an old Earther, and much influence was the website. I think it is Reason and Science or something. I don't remember exactly the name. It's a site about old Earth creationism, but I
Okay.
never felt very comfortable with it, because the explanation that was giving to the days in Genesis, uh, arguing that Yom could be translated as long periods of time, that never really satisfied me much. And for a few years, I remained agnostic in regards of that issue. And then I moved more and more closer to young Earth. So today I would consider myself a young Earth creationist.
So it was a biblical interpretation that basically got you from old Earth to young Earth. Is that
Yes, the explanation in Genesis did not satisfy me, pointing to an old Earth, and I think this was a major issue that drove me closer to young Earth. And then, of course, I was looking for evidence that could actually support that view, and there was a major issue with the starlight problem, and then there were more and more evidence that the dinosaurs have soft tissue, and that convinced me that it is actually a good explanation. This year, I met Philip Williams, which is a very nice guy, and he was on Mount Ararat, and he did visit the site top on the mountain that, in my view and in his view as well, is a very, very strong evidence that the structure that he did visit and see there is Noah's Ark. So another issue that I think supports very strongly a literal interpretation of Genesis.
okay? I think I was 7 years old when I got a old Earth interpretation of Genesis from a pastor, and I remember that. I remember he told me it was a metaphor, that Genesis was a metaphor, and that made a lot of sense to
Yes,
me.
I've studied that. Yeah, that too. I had a long discussions at Facebook with some Facebook friends about that too. And I have also a link at my virtual library about this issue. So I don't accept this interpretation either.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it puts you at odds with 90% of science, 99% of science and scientists. And how doesn't that bother you? Why? I mean, I'm pretty sure if you ask 99% of scientists, they would tell you the Earth is 4.2 billion years old. So you're kind of.
I very honestly, I don't go by consensus. I don't go by authority. We have today still a majority of biologists claiming that evolution is true, and I just rely on what I investigate, and
Okay.
I don't simply take what others say at face value.
So kind of a maverick, you find your own way.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said for that. I think I have aspects of that when it comes to philosophy of mind and certain areas of philosophy. I kind of find my own way. Not so much in science, though. Like, because not a geologist, not an astrophysicist, I'm not a physicist. And for those things, I kind of would go with the authority because I do not have time to study them in sufficient depth to make my own decision. So you're kind of stuck with going with, in fact, the average person is stuck with that.
I see that very often. I have exchange with atheists on a daily basis with many people, and I see many people when an issue is raised, they just search on Google, they find a link, and then they post it and think that because they did find an explanation that conforms with what they think is true, that then it must be true. But they don't have a real understanding of what they link and what they actually show. So that is blind faith.
That's not what I said. I said because I don't understand astrophysics, geology, because of that, I go with the mainstream, or I would go with the majority. It isn't that I decided in advance what I wanted to believe, and then I went to the appeal to authority. The authorities tell me basically what I should believe. So, oh my God.
Yeah.
So
of course, we try to construct a worldview which is coherent, and when there's an issue comes up, then we try to fix it what conforms with what we already believe.
Right. And for me, the issue has never come up that there's a possibility of an intelligent designer or a God. So I don't have any inconsistency in what I would in going with that authority. But no, I don't do worldview first and then go look for authorities to agree with me. I do for geology and astrophysics. I would go with the authorities. Now with climate change, I was a little more reluctant back in the 80s and 90s, and I had to figure it out for myself before I decided that climate change was driven by humans. But I had to do a calculation in order to figure that one out. So not always the case. I mean, I don't just go with what the media tells me. Like when the media starts telling me something, like if you read these pop articles in Scientific American and even to some degree in Nature, I don't automatically accept what they say. They frequently shoot their mouths off before they have anything to back it up. You know what I mean?
Well, I am very skeptic about mainstream claims on the media and as well in science. So I really like to look into the science by myself and make my mind up. And in regards of climate change, I don't have much an opinion, but I can well endorse that there is climate change because of our intervention in nature, but that's also not much amount of my focus. So it is not something that I much dedicate my time to investigate.
Yeah. Okay. So the other night in the hangout, now we were talking about how organisms develop, and you said the DNA code Okay, the gene-centric view, which you called pseudoscience, was 160 years old, but Darwin didn't know about genes. He had, they had some idea. And then you said that it wasn't possible for DNA to develop an organism, I believe, right?
I did find today an article, which was a science paper, which was published in the Royal Society, and I did really like it because the scientist who wrote it very much comes very close to what I actually endorse and believe. I can link you to the paper,
Yes.
and then you can have a look. But I can read it to you, the short version of what is the core issue on this paper. Okay?
Link me the paper. Let me pull it up here so we can take a look at it.
Yeah, sure. Just a moment.
Put it in private chat because I think you
Okay.
have the ability there. And I will find a bookmark. Let me see here.
Give me just a minute so my computer can upload it, and then I will copy it. Okay?
Okay.
My internet is very slow, so
Yeah. We just switched to very, very fast internet, like 1 gigabit, which is pretty cool.
yeah, mine is not so fast, unfortunately.
Yeah, we had trouble when we lived in rural Minnesota. We had just extremely bad internet out there, and I think rural Minnesota is still that way. They're working on it, but slowly. One of the reasons why I like living in the city now, even though I'm kind of like right on the edge of the city, so I don't see a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Where do you live?
Minnesota, kind of at right by the Minnesota River.
Mm-hmm.
Right by a river valley, and we're in a really, really long cul-de-sac that's in the middle of two valleys. So there's no people here, which is cool. But yet 5 minutes from the Mall of America if I want to go drive there. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will copy it now. Just a minute.
I wonder if I could find it. Yeah. Was it a link from one of those? Because I do have links. Trying to find Royal Society. Let's see. I think the first one had a link from Royal Society, didn't it? The first link you gave us the other night. Let's see. Royal. We're gonna bore everybody. Royal. Half-life of DNA. Okay, spandrels of San Marco. DNA is information. Was that the one? DNA is information. Oh no, I lost you. I lost you. This is great. And DNA as information. That's Royal Society. By Will. Well, gentlemen, or boys and girls. I'm sorry, I said gentlemen. Damn. Girls and boys. Girls are better than boys. In my opinion, I've noticed that most of the bullshit that you see on YouTube is all dudes being assholes. I think I'm going to start saying girls and boys. They deserve to go first because they're better. Spandrels of San Marco, congruent solution to arthropod phylogeny, the extended evolution. Oh, the extended synthesis. I got it. Shown folder, open a new tab. Okay, extended synthesis is by Leyland, Uller, Feldman. You overloaded your internet?
Yeah.
Is it the extended synthesis? Can you give me the name of the paper?
Just a moment. I am pasting it at the private chat here now. Okay. Just
Okay.
that was the propaganda of the paper. Now I'm downloading the paper. It's a framework for parsing heritable information.
Okay, I do not have that one. Why is this not popping up? Space ref.
Okay. Okay, I did copy to you both papers.
Okay. Let's see. For some reason, that first one's not popping up. I don't know why.
Yeah, try the second one. That's actually the paper.
Okay, that's by Jose or Jose. Okay. Utility systems heritable. Okay, do you want to read that for us?
Yeah. A framework for parsing heritable information. A new framework recasts heredity as a complex, networked information system in which all the regulatory molecules that help the cell to function can constitute a store of hereditary information. Instructions not coded in the DNA are contained in the arrangement of the molecules within cells and their interactions with one another. This arrangement of molecules is preserved and passed down from one generation to the next. Framework recasts inheritance as the combined effects of three components: entities, sensors, and properties. Sensors are specific entities that interact with and respond to other entities or to their environment. Sensors respond to certain properties, such as the arrangement of a molecule, its concentration in the cell, or its proximity to another molecule. Together, entities, sensors, and properties enable a living organism to sense or know things about itself and its environment. Some of this knowledge is used along with the genome in every generation to build an organism. Scientists don't currently have methods to measure some of these things, so this work points to potentially important new avenues for research.
Okay, hang on a sec. Molecular alchemy, I did not see your comments before the stream. So, no, I missed them. I'm talking to somebody. Okay, so you're reading from this first link. I can't get that link to work.
Okay.
The very first one. Okay, framework of parsing. Okay, maybe I can look that up. And I'm looking at the paper itself. Let me see here if I can look that up and see if Google comes up with a good link. DNA is life. Okay, is that Science Bulletin? DNA may not be life's instruction book. Is that it?
That is the propaganda site.
Okay, the propaganda site. Okay, you were reading from the paper, but I kind of lost you on the paper. So anyway, living systems transmit heritable information using the replicating gene sequences and cycling regulators assembled around gene sequences. So that's the paper itself. So here I develop a framework for heredity and development that includes the cycling regulators parsed in terms of what an organism can sense about itself and its environment by defining entities, their sensors, and sense properties. So this looks to be, let's see if I can, I'm going to get rid of my cam here because I don't think anybody wants to see me. And let's see, framework for, and I think I'm going to post this in chat. Just forgive me. I'm not good at this.
No problem.
They can't hear you, Otangelo. Can you turn your sound up more?
Yeah, I will. That's my maximum here.
Okay. Ooh, it looks like it split me across a bunch of chats. That's your maximum? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, there you're better. I think you're better now.
Okay.
Yeah, much better. Much better.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to share this tab. I want to share a Chrome tab. A framework for parsing. Okay. Share. Okay, so now we can see what's going on here. So, okay, why was this paper compelling to you?
Because it removes a gene-centric view to actually a gene and epigenetics view. And my understanding is that there are many different mechanisms that work in an interplay and in a concert action to make complex organisms. So it's not just the genes. The genes are just one of many other factors upon which the organism depends in order for developing and maintaining and constructing complex organisms.
Okay, but we knew that. We've known that for 30 years. Epigenetics is became a big thing between 1980 and 2000. And we've been aware of development actually for 120 years. We've known a lot about development, and we've understood that there are only three things that you have in. Hold on a minute. I got a little business to attend to here. Anyway, so there are three things that go into an organism that define whether or not you're going to be a tree or whether you're going to be Otangelo. So you got your genes, you have your environment, which is the world, and then of course you have all of those interactions between the cells as they become created, and that starts out with your maternal cell. Basically, a cell comes from the mother. So you have some of your mother's genetics at play in that first cell. So the proteome from your mother is going to be in that first zygote, right?
Mm-hmm.
Agree with that? Okay, and then you inherit genes from both your mom and your dad. So you have a slightly different genome. But very early on in the process of embryogenesis or morphogenesis, your genes start to become active. And so your genes are very much what makes you. I mean, we could put your zygote in a horse womb. Of course, it would die there. We could put the embryo in a different environment, and it would still come out to be pretty much you unless you died. So if you survived, it would be a human being, and that's based on the genes. And
it's not only based on the genes, it's based also on epigenetic information.
Well, of course,
that's precisely the point. And that paper, which I am showing here, is saying exactly this, that inheritance is not depending only on genetic information, but also on other epigenetic factors.
Okay, so you see what I've highlighted here? But epigenetics, but you're proposing an epigenetics, you're proposing some other kind of information, and you alluded to it.
It is an interplay of epigenetic information with genetic information, like the gene regulatory. So
if you put DNA in a dish, it's not going to turn into a human being. It has to be in the mother's cell. It has to be implanted normally in a mother or in an egg of some sort, and then it has to be in the world. It has to be in an environment where it's going to interact with all those things. But what you've got there is you've got, like he says here, that includes the cycling regulators parsed in terms of what an organism can sense about itself and its environment by defining entities. They're sensors and sense properties. But you kind of seem to be promoting an idea that it isn't the genes that make the organism. I mean, if it
I'm
isn't
not.
genes
I'm
and the
not. I'm
mother,
not saying. I'm not saying that it's not the genes. I am saying that the genes are just one of many other mechanisms which work together to develop an organism.
and so would every other biologist on the earth right now tell you the same thing. So, I mean, this is nothing new. This is not a new way of looking at development or embryology. We know that there's an interaction between the genes and there's an interaction between genes, the DNA, and the egg and the world, and the developing organism. So if the organism divides into 4 cells, all 4 of those cells are going to be communicating with each other, and they're going to feed back into the system, and they're going to determine what the next gene is that gets promoted. So there's an interactive thing.
Yes,
But no,
there
you
is
said,
cell communication. I agree with you,
yeah.
and I did link to you now to the resume of which mechanisms that, in my understanding, are relevant in order to develop organisms. You can put it on the screen, and I list 17 different things.
Well, I don't want to go through your entire blog again. I think we got enough. I think we have enough right here with just this paper.
Okay.
Just showing this part, and with showing basically, there was one thing you said on Saturday night that caught my attention. You said the hormones, the bioelectric code, what directions are neurons in the central nervous system. Let's see, it parsed kind of badly, so I'm reading a transcript. To grasp how it works, we have not yet decoded the neuronal spike rate code. And I think you said that in reaction to somebody asking you what other information besides the genome, the mother cell, the zygote, and the world went into it, and you suggested something about bioelectric codes. How important is that to you?
I can link it to you, the work which has been done on this, and then you can have a look.
The work that who has done?
The science paper upon which I extracted information of this mechanism. Okay. Okay, here is the link.
Hi, RJ. I hope you're still here. I think this might be interesting.
Okay, you can put it on the screen.
Okay, that's reasons in science. That's 3 recent groundbreaking.
Yeah, that is my site where I copied the relevant information which I see in the science papers. I copied to my library.
Okay, now we're kind of galloping off into the sunset. So the bioelectric, that I have not seen this one yet. So this might be a new one. So I guess I will allow you this. Groundbreaking research. Share. Okay. So bioelectric code split. So where is the relevant work that you said has been done on this?
That's the paper which I simply one-to-one copied to my library. Okay, what I outline is the relevant parts in the papers, and the green written parts are my comments on the paper.
Okay. So I'm talking about my comment, the author, cracking the bioelectric code, signaling an example of code. Hang on a second here. Okay, so where's the paper?
Okay, let me see the link to it's always at the bottom of my post.
Information.
So if you scroll down, you will see it linked, the paper. You have to scroll up again. No, it's not this one. It's another one. let me check it out. I will link it to you. Okay.
Oh, how about no bioelectricity? We got a wiki article.
Okay, it's this one here. Did it link to another one? Okay, I just linked it to you.
Let's see. My, it's going to be a PDF. Okay,
Yeah, because these papers of Science Direct, they are behind the paywall. So I use Skyhub to decode the paper, you know.
But we never talk about that on this channel. What determines large-scale anatomy? DNA does not directly specify geometrical arrangements of tissues and organs. A process of encoding and decoding for morphogenesis is required. Okay, I agree with that. Moreover, many species can generate and remodel their structure despite drastic injury. The ability to obtain the correct target morphology from a diversity of initial conditions reveals that the morphogenetic code implements a rich system of pattern homeostatic processes. We know that. Here we describe an important mechanism. Let's see, bioelectricity. All cells, not only nerves and muscles, produce and sense electrical signals in vivo. These processes form bioelectric circuits that harness individual cell behaviors towards specific anatomical endpoints. So we review emerging progress in reading and rewriting anatomical information encoded in bioelectric states and discuss the approaches to the problem from the perspectives of information theory, dynamical systems, and computational neuroscience. Okay, cracking the bioelectric code. So this talks about regeneration of organs that have been damaged and based on the nervous system. So let's see, where did you go with that? There is no nervous system in the developing embryo, so we know that it's not neurons, and we know that it's not a bioelectric or a neuronal spike code. But let's take a look at your comments here. Confirms what I wrote in the article. Okay, it is widely believed that the answer lies within the genome, but is not that simple. Gives rise to an individual the appropriate and how does this occur? What is responsible for remarkable multi-scale complexity? Okay. Code-specific proteins, no direct encoding of anatomical structure. We know that. Okay, we know that it's an interactive system that develops on its own. Oh my goodness. I just got rid of my screen. Clear that pattern control involves a code, the encoding of anatomical positions and structures within an egg or other cell types. And so they're working on an informational code, but it says nothing about bioelectrics in that paragraph. Okay. So your comment, let's see, who's on top? You want to read your comment? My comment, this confirms what I wrote in the article. Nothing about bioelectrics in that paragraph.
Well, I have a book, let me check it out if I can find it for you, which explains that the development and the position of each cell is directed by the bioelectric code through the central nervous system.
Who says that?
I can link you to the book, and
okay.
Then you can have a look at it.
What is the name of the book?
Yeah, give me a moment. I will just find it for you. Okay.
If you just give me the author and the name of the book, I might be able to find it faster.
Mm-hmm. Give me a moment and I will try to find it for you, okay? But you need Epigenetic in order to download it. That is another...
Do you have the name of the book?
Yeah, just a moment, please.
If you would just tell us the name of the book, I might have it right behind me.
Yeah, The name is Epigenetic Principles of Evolution.
Epigenetic Principles of Evolution. I think I own it, but I don't know where it is, so I'm not going to go look for it.
I can give you the link if you want, and you can download it.
Okay.
Just a moment.
Oh, let's see here. If I just go check. Let's see what our screen looks like here. I'd love to know what Angelo said. Okay, where's I got some stuff here I got to put on the screen. I'm not paying attention to people. I'm sorry, guys in chat. Okay, RJ. Good one. Yes, let's see here. Oh, Maddox is a pompous, condescending ass and doesn't know anything about the subject he talks about. We discovered that some time ago. Closest closet yecker. No, he finally admitted that he was a yecker. So, though he was a Tortugan fuddlehead even prior.
Okay, I did send you the link. If
Okay.
you want, you can put it also on the chat of our viewers.
I own this book, actually. Let's see here. Epigenetic Principles of Evolution. And that is, how many editions? We have a 2012. We have a 2018 edition, right? Now,
Yeah, that's the newest one.
I believe, why do I know?
I did download the older version.
The older version?
Yeah, I did download the 2011 version. I didn't see the 2018 version.
There's a newer one. Yeah, it's going to take a while to get that. So anyway, what does that book say? So
yeah, I'm. Let me check if I find the chapter where it says exactly what I am saying. Okay. Are you downloading the book?
I'm trying to find it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did send you the link. Just download it now.
Yeah, it's not going to download quickly. Okay, Nelson Cabej. Let's see who he is. Who is he? Let's take a look at who he is first while we're downloading. Yeah, that book is not going to happen, so you're probably going to have to. Let's see. He's a veterinarian and an immunologist. So he's a veterinarian. Multifaceted scientific research, epizoology, molecular biology, immunology, linguistics, philosophy, journalism. Published only 100 articles in Albanian English, theory which is positively valued. Let's see. Role of epigenetics through the nervous system and the evolution of the animal, the epigenetic principles of evolution, and building the most complex structure on Earth. Let's go watch my chat. Not paying attention. He has a whole blog with every paper he uses. Let me see if I can find it. And just watching fish. Oh, okay. That was. Let's look at RJ's comment here.
Okay, I can read from the book here. First, the fact that metazoan morphology is determined by developmental pathways during ontogeny suggests that adaptive evolutionary changes in morphology will also be determined during ontogeny. And the fact that during ontogeny many developmental pathways for animal structures are activated by signals that ultimately start in the CNS, in the central nervous system, in chapter 5, suggests that the information necessary for the evolution of these structures may also originate in the central nervous system. Second, developmental pathways that determine dramatic morphological transformations in metamorphosizing organisms are ultimately activated by the central nervous system. Third, many discrete changes in metazoan morphology that are observed in numerous cases in phenotypic plasticity are induced by signal cascades starting in the central nervous system. Fourth, the biological phenomenon of transgenerational plasticity, that is, the appearance in the offspring of inherited morphological, usually adaptive modifications in response to environmental stimuli that have affected their parents. In a number of described cases, it has been demonstrated that the information for these inherited changes in the offspring morphology and behavior comes in the form of brain signals. So
Okay,
that's
but there is,
basically what I said.
but the brain doesn't exist when the morphology of the organism is created. That's part of what the morphology of the organism ends up creating is the neural, the neural fold, the neural crest, and it goes off and starts to differentiate into a nervous system. So there
Yes,
isn't no brain in an early organism.
yes, I tried to find information where it says that up to a certain point, the information comes from the information already stored in the zygote, and then the central nervous system takes over. I have to find the exact sentence which explains it in more detail and better than I did right now. But it says there is a takeover during development from one mechanism to another.
Okay, but I haven't seen anything that would lead us to believe what form would it have in the zygote? What form would this nervous system information have in the zygote?
I think that the science is just in the beginning to unravel actually where these codes are stored and generated. Okay, and I have seen very little explanation on where epigenetic codes are generated. But the paper that I quoted to you just in the beginning now gives a superficial explanation on this.
Okay, what? I missed that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was distracted. So where do you have this? Where is this information stored in the zygote?
Science doesn't know yet where epigenetic information is stored, but we know, for example, that
Wait a minute. Wait. We know a lot about epigenetics. And we know all of the mechanisms. The 23 mechanisms that you outlined. We know all about that. I've got textbooks on that, so we know that part. So, but where could this neuronal information be stored? I don't. So you're suggesting that the brain of the mother somehow affects the zygote?
let me check if I find that where it writes about that transition.
Okay. Hang on a
Let
second.
me quote that.
I'm
Recent
gonna post
groundbreaking.
your blog. Posting your blog for RJ here. So that is the beginning of the blog, RJ, and you can find all the papers. I think this particular one that we're looking at, let's see, I have been remiss in paying attention to my chapters. Okay, that's the specific part of the blog that we're looking at, RJ. You know the words that are on my lips, right? Pseudoscience. I mean, you know what I'm thinking. I'm
Okay,
not,
let me
not going to play
let
cat
me
and mouse
write.
with you. Okay.
Let me read this. Recent groundbreaking scientific discoveries are demonstrating that one key issue, cell migration, galvanotropism, galvanotaxis, and electrotaxis, is not due to the change in allele frequencies in genes, but endogenous electric currents and fields generated by molecules program the formation of extracellular molecular gradients, which play an instructive role guiding and generating cues of the migratory trajectory of cells to their end destination in the body during development. Complex pattern formation requires mechanisms to coordinate individual cell behavior towards the anatomical needs of the organism. Alongside the well-studied biochemical and genetic signals, functions an important and powerful system of bioelectrical communication. All cells, not just excitable nerve and muscle potentials, are instructive cues that encode positional information and organ identity, and thus regulates the creation and maintenance of large-scale shape. In a variety of model systems, it is now clear that bioelectric pre-patterns function during embryonic development, organ regeneration, and cancer suppression. 3. Furthermore, the collective
Okay,
oscillations.
Otangelo, I have to stop you. Where are you reading from? We have to give
I
our
did,
sources.
yeah, I did link you the last link which I copy pasted to you. You can put it on the screen if you want.
Okay, this is from your blog then.
Again. Yeah, it's for my blog. Yes.
Okay, so you're reading. Let's get on the same page here. Okay, magnetism. Oh my goodness, we have an ad. So let me link this tab for our viewers, because we can't do things that aren't linked here. Recent groundbreaking research. Let's see okay, that's the one. Gonna share it. Okay, so there we are. Let me see if I can find out where RJ's. Oh my goodness. Hang on a second. We got to do our housekeeping. We cannot. Let's see. Okay. So where were you reading from here? Recent groundbreaking scientific.
I ended at suppression and was starting to read at 3.
Okay, and where's the source for this? So this is the Sci-Hub Science Direct.
Yeah, you can click that down.
Whoops. We don't want to go there. Hang on a second. I want to go back here. So that's bad site. Let me see if I have. What is the name of the paper? Is it? Do you have the author of that paper?
Just a moment. I will open it. So.
This is probably not very entertaining for everybody. I don't know. We're a little bit slow here, James and Fish. My only 2 viewers. My extremely popular.
The name of the paper is Structural Evidence for Electromagnetic Resonance in Plant Morphogenesis.
Okay, hang on a second here. Author? Can you just spell the author for me?
Pietak.
Okay, Pietak.
Pietak.
2011? Pietak 2011?
Yes, 2012.
Okay, I've got a 2011. So, well, that's just what I name things. So, okay. So
the name of the paper is Structural Evidence for Electromagnetic Resonance in Plant Morphogenesis.
Right. How a homogeneous collective of cells consistently and precisely establishes long-range tissue patterns remains a question of active research. That's morphogenesis. This work explores the hypothesis of plant organs as resonators for electromagnetic radiation, long-range structural patterns in the developing ovaries and male flower buds of cucurbit plants, zucchini, acorn, and butternut squash. In addition to mature cucurbit fruits, acorn, butternut, zucchini, squash, watermelon, cucumber, were investigated. Finite element analysis model was used to determine resonant electromagnetic modes for models with similar geometric and electrical parameters to developing organs. Okay.
I think it's better you start from the introduction. You may write from the introduction, which goes into the issue of the paper.
Okay.
From the conventional view of modern biology, nearly every single aspect of development is seen as a consequence of molecular signals produced by and often capable of further influencing genetic expression. From this perspective, developmental phenomena are assumed to ultimately be coordinated by molecular signals, morphogenes and hormones produced by selective activation of certain genes in certain cells at certain times in the developmental process. For instance, in plant development, various aspects of melon fruit formation, from the sexual expression of flowers to fruit ripening, are the consequence of tissue exposure to genetically regulated ethylene. Let me see if there is something relevant here.
Nope. It's all about basically the hormones in plants that promote development, and then we have fundamental symmetry breaking. Let's go down to the conclusion of the paper and see if there's any clues there. So that would be next. But this is about cucumbers, so
this is interesting here. While the form of these structures remains undoubtedly influenced by molecular signals resulting from genetic expression, the mechanisms behind long-range pattern emergence from a homogeneous primordium remain an unsolved problem.
Okay, but they're not really, I mean, they're unsolved problems. We have a lot of them. I've got a book here called, basically P.Z. Myers uses this to teach his class, called Principles of Development by Wolpert. And in the back, they don't mention anything about bioelectric development or the CNS.
Forget P.C. Myers, they continue here. In other words, a trapped electromagnetic field serves as a fundamental symmetry breaking mechanism informing early morphogenetic events and processes. Electromagnetism refers to the phenomenon of oscillating coupled electric and magnetic fields, which can propagate as a wave with amplitude and frequency and wavelength. The frequency of the AM wave is related to its energy and instills it with different properties and interactions with materials. Lower frequency AM waves are used for radio broadcasts, and
okay, so where are these?
They propose here these electric magnetic fields, and though that converges with the other papers which I copy pasted into my library. So they all point to a bioelectric code, which is not related to genetic information.
Right, but a cucumber doesn't have a nervous system, so you were saying that the CNS had something to do with it, or spike patterns, neuronal spike patterns. Cucumbers don't have nervous systems; they don't have brains.
Yeah,
so they're not going to be
that. Yeah, that is in the book which I quoted previously, the Epigenetic Principles in Evolution. They propose here that the spikes in the neurons, they produce a code which then is used by the organism to direct the cells to the end place where they will stay.
Okay.
But a general observation here is that they point to bioelectric codes, and there is I have also copied a picture in my blog. You can maybe scroll up a little bit, and it will show it.
The picture is from where?
Yeah, that picture here. Okay.
Where's
So
that
you
picture?
see here,
What is the source
it's
of
in
this picture?
the source is at the end of the
Whoops.
post.
It's where?
At the end of the post, let me check here. Just a moment.
Source of the picture.
It is. I will link it to you. I think you did open the paper. It's in that paper which you already opened previously.
Okay, so it's a paper we already have. So genetic
Yeah,
code.
I did link it.
Okay, we're kind of going way off field here with talking about basically magnetism and the development of cucumbers, which I got to admit that is a surprising paper to me. I've never seen that before, but I mean, extending from cucumbers to all organisms, from plants, I'm not sure if we.
Well, I think that the important issue here is that they also write about codes, electromagnetic codes, and that converges with that paper here, which writes about bioelectric codes.
Okay, where do these fields come from in the cucumber development? What are they saying? So where do fields come from in cucumber development?
Well, you would have to continue reading the paper and find if they point to where this information is stored. I don't know.
They don't. They let's say they talk about most aspects of biomedicine boil down to the control of shape, birth defects, whatever. Even the cancer kind of generalized plasticity in service of two specific outcomes, closely related. They don't say much. They're just they're talking about the possibility that there are fields set up inside of an organism or inside of a developing organism that bioelectrically affect some of the developmental pathways. And okay, we'd have to read the paper, but I mean, there is no support here for your overall view that all organisms develop this way. It's a cucumber. Okay, so let's see. Did anybody else? Oh, we saw the butcher of the Punnett Square. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so far, you know, you've gone out and you picked up a couple of little papers to support this idea, but we got to go way back to the beginning. Okay, we have a zygote. Let's pick a zebra. Okay, and we have the zygote that came from the mother zebra, and so we have just a zygote, and inside it has DNA, and the zygote is in an environment. It's in the world, the mother's womb, and developing. And that's where the zygote's developing. Now, what are you claiming happens that has anything at all to do with the central nervous system or bioelectrics?
I did quote you.
Why is it necessary?
Yeah, I did quote you from the book Epigenetic Principles of Evolution. And the paper on my blog claims the same thing, that these bioelectric signals are generated through a spike code in neurons. And,
no, that isn't what any of these papers suggest. These there are no neurons in the developing zygote. They don't exist yet, and there certainly are no spikes. Brain spikes. I have a book here called Spikes that talks about brain spikes. That happens in developed central nervous system. And those spikes, we know how they work, and we know how they're created. So we know a lot about the neuronal spikes. Well,
I don't find the part where it says that up to a certain point, it's not the nervous system which generates these signals, but it comes from the information from the zygote. I'm just trying to find that part where it says that, so we can have a closer look here. But I agree with you, basically. Yes, of course, you cannot have signals from a central nervous system if that is not developed yet.
Right. So what are we saying? So okay, my point on P.C. Myers in this textbook, he teaches college classes in the biology principles of development. You could forget the fact that he has an atheist blog, but he is a professor at a university here in Minnesota, and he teaches a class. And in this class, and I have 2 books on general development, and I have several on human embryology and some other little arcane things, but none of them mention these bioelectric effects. They go through the development of an organism. In fact, we know practically everything about how a fruit fly develops. C. elegans, Dario, I forget what kind of fish it is. Help me, Walker. So we have a lot of this stuff already figured out, and we know that it's epigenetics, because epigenetics is the only way that cells work. Okay, we know that. We've known that for 20 years. So I'm trying to figure out how you're getting from this to intelligent design. Maybe you can short circuit us here, or are you?
Well, intelligent design is a philosophical inference. It is an interpretation of the data, of the evidence, and
so you arrived at that with philosophy.
Well, the thing is that there is always a philosophical circle around science. You have scientific data, and you have to interpret it. And when we talk about historical science, about events that occurred in the past, then you have data which you can collect today, which gives us a hint about what eventually occurred in the past. And from that body of evidence, you conclude what probably happened. And what we know is that instructional information, instructional complex codified information, is always generated by intelligence. I'm a machine designer, and when a boss of mine comes and tells me, please design a machine with that precise sizes for that function with this materials and so on, then I have to sit to the drawing table, think about how I solve that problem, and then make the plan, the design with all the precise instructions how to build that device. So it is not imaginable that random unguided events would have the same power to generate that kind of complex instructional information. That is always generated by intelligence. And what we see in biology is it is full of information, not only genetic information, but also epigenetic information. There are several languages and several codes and several information transmission devices like messenger DNA, which is transcribed and translated and so on. So you need to have a setup to start life. And there you have no evolution to explain how that kind of information transmission systems and codes and information was generated. The only alternative to intelligent design is chance, is random lucky events. So the question is, what makes more sense, that we explain what we see in the cell by chance or by intelligent design? And since I'm coming from, as a machine designer, I'm coming from that background, to me it seems absolutely irrational to imagine that random unguided events could bring up a minimal functional self-replicating cell with all that kind of information systems that are required.
Okay. Molecular Academy, alchemy. Yeah, T Jump and I live real close to each other, by the way. We got a little bit of an echo going on for some reason, Otangelo. A lot of background noise. Let's see, if you're trying to determine if the genome was
Larissa,
created.
just a moment, I will Larissa, eu estou trabalhando com um rapaz, ele não está escutando. Então eu vou desligar a televisão e você vai lá no quarto. É sim, eu estou aqui trabalhando, filha.
T-Jump and I share a town.
Trabalhando. Just a moment, please.
Oh hell, did I dox him? I think he's public about that. Anyway, let's see. So, oh my God, we've gone way down deep into cucumbers and the CNS with absolutely no evidence other than a breadcrumb trail of little papers that suggest. And I am. Let's see, Nelson Cave. So the epigenetic principles of evolution by Cabej.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway,
Yeah.
Molecular alchemy made a point. If you're trying to determine if the genome was created, then your first premise can't basically be the genome is created.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying that what we see in biological cells is informational systems, the genome, the genetic code, information transmission systems, information stored in the genome, and then we have to ask where does that kind of information come from? How was it generated in the first place?
Molecular alchemy makes the point that I always make. That my biggest point. If you want to start talking about abiogenesis or where something came from, you cannot start with a fully developed eukaryotic cell that's had 4.2 billion.
I agree. Yes, I agree with that. And in 2016, there was a paper which came up with a supposed minimal functional living cell, and that paper came up with a genome with about 438 proteins, and I think it was about 500 genes or so.
And that's still too far. That's still way too far. There were 400 or 500 genes didn't pop up out of the molecular out of soup. Basically, there was a long history, hundreds of millions of years prior to that first cell, that first replicating cell. Prior to DNA, prior to RNA. We always do this with abiogenesis. We assume that there are the 4 nucleotides we're used to, that we have the right ribose, that we have the right backbone, that we have proteins the way they are now. No, none of that was the case. If you want to go all the way back down, now we were talking about embryology and development of current cells, and I'd kind of like to focus on that instead of going all the way back down the abiogenesis trail.
Well, the thing is that some people, they ask some questions, and of course you would like me to answer them, and they are obviously not always exactly related to what we were discussing. That happens also the last time. But I did link you to my post at my library that my claim is that biological cells are irreducibly complex, and you can put it on the screen. And there are several science papers which not directly but indirectly point to that direction. You can put it on the screen and we can read some quotes regarding of that.
We could read quotes all day long. I'm not sure if that's going to get us anywhere. Okay, this is also your blog. That were...
Yes, but I link to the papers from where I take the information.
Okay, so far you've linked to cucumbers, which don't have a central nervous system. So how are we getting back to this? Okay, the cells are irreducibly complex. I've seen this one. So hang on a second here. Okay, but we're kind of bouncing around here. I want to get back to this claim you had of neuronal spikes, the neuronal spike code having something to do with development.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can't be right in human beings. And that isn't the case in Drosophila, in fruit flies. That is not, and in all of the studies and basically, if you go to college to study morphogenesis or embryology, you never run into these obscure claims of bioelectric effects.
Well, you are just
we have to
using now
consider
an argument. You are using now just an argument from incredulity, because I am not quoting from some
What have you done?
creationist. I am not quoting from just from some creationist blogs, but from science papers from reputed science journals. And Levine is a main investigator of bioelectric codes, and he is well respected in the field. And you can put my blog again there, and that is not just hocus pocus or some pseudo-scientific nonsense, but this is serious scientific investigation. So I think you are reasoning now from personal incredulity.
Which Aline is Levine? Levin?
You can put the about bioelectric codes on my virtual library again on the screen, and then we can scroll up just the beginning, and then we can see from there.
I have to do a little bit of. Okay, hang on a second. Let's catch up to chat here. A better example would be spontaneously formed vesicle containing random art. So, okay, talking about, abiogenesis, and we don't want to go there. Okay, so we're looking at your paper, losing the thread as usual. Abiogenesis, impossible. So you're not appealing to incredulity here at all when you say that it's all impossible?
No. When I say it's impossible, then it's not incredulity. But I will give you an example. That is a very often claim made by atheists, that they say, well, you are using the God of the gaps, but that's not the case. When you have let me suppose you ask someone, do you have some coins in your wallet? And that person then looks into the wallet and doesn't find any coins. So you checked and you didn't find any coins. So you can say by an informed situation, well, I checked, I did not find any coins in the wallet. So that is not an argument from that's not a gaps argument. That's an inference from the fact that there were no coins in the wallet. And that's the same exact thing in biology. Biologists, they have looked into what happens inside the cell, and they did not find solutions of how that kind of complexity could have emerged by unguided natural means. So that is an informed sentence to say, well, upon what we investigated, we did not find evidence that unguided random events could have come up with biological cells. And then you have to look somewhere else. And that leads us, if you apply eliminative inductions to intelligent design.
Okay. I'm just catching up on chat here. Yeah, okay, let's go back up here. We're back to this bioelectric code that you started out. I mean, you're going off. We're threatening to get into this carbon dioxide fixation. We're not going to do that here today. Okay, we're going to back up to the initial claim that there are bioelectric codes that affect the development of our zebra, which is in the womb. So we're back to the zygotes, and irreducible complexity. No, I call bullshit on that. In order to determine whether something is irreducibly complex, and in order to determine whether that entire historical scientific path that we're trying to unwind finds for irreducible complexity or for intelligent design, we would have to be gods. We would have to have computers probably bigger than the galaxy, if not the cosmos, in order to figure out everything that happened historically on the Earth in the last 4.2 billion years. So we can't just find for irreducible complexity by waving our hands and saying we got all these complex things. So anyway, so I call fall on irreducible complexity, and I want to go back to your claim on bioelectric.
Well, would you like me to respond, because you have made a claim now, and I think it would be fair that you permit me also to respond to your claim.
Let me be sure you understand that my claim was, we do not know how it happened, and we do not know all of the steps that would be necessary for abiogenesis or to create a modern eukaryotic cell. So my claim is that we don't know, and that we are probably in a bad position to find out exactly what happened. That's my claim. Go ahead.
And I disagree wholeheartedly with you, because what we already know permits us to make informed conclusions that unguided random means are simply not capable to come up what is necessary.
Then why do only 1% of the people in the biological community conclude along with you that we know it's irreducibly complex?
Well, once again, you're making an argument ad populum, and I told you that I don't.
You have too, because you put up papers on cucumbers and several other papers. So I mean, so basically you're appealing to authority too, and now you're telling me I can't.
The difference, Michael, is that if I take these papers, they provide evidence of what they claim, and you cannot say, oh, because 99% believe that irreducible complexity is bunk, well, then it must be bunk. Well, that's not an argument. That's just an appeal to authority, and that's not how it works. Now, in order to say that irreducible complexity is bunk, you need to demonstrate why systems in biology could come up by evolutionary means, and and why they are not irreducibly complex.
So you're saying that for us to claim that we don't know, that we have to know?
What I am saying is that what we know permits us to make informed conclusions.
But you're the only one concluding that, so why can't I appeal to the mainstream? Because I mean, I'm somebody who's studied molecular biology and embryology at some length, and I don't conclude the same as you. Can I appeal to my own authority?
Well, you are free, of course, to conclude whatever you want, and that happens all the time. And
right, so we have a difference of opinion.
Yes,
we're looking at different data sets, and we're coming up with different opinions.
No. We are looking at the same data set, and we are
looking at the same data set because you have not read the same books and papers that I have. We can't possibly have the same data set. We'd have to be the same person.
Well, but the evidence is the same. What happens in biology? You read the books, I read the books, and what is there? These books. They write about what is there, and we can have the same information. Basically, we know about genes and information and metabolic pathways and all that kind of stuff. So we are basically looking at the same thing, and the question is, how do we make a good interpretation of the data and the evidence?
Creationists always claim that we're looking at the same data set, and I'm telling you that's impossible. Have you read Principles of Development by Wolpert?
I have read several books about development, and they are reflected in my.
But have you read the ones that I read?
Well, just so in my mind now, it's difficult to say if I had a look at specifically that book. And I mean, development is a very vast field, and there are so many different kinds of development. You can take Xenopus and you can take a Drosophila and then study its development, and you will see that the development pattern is completely different from one animal to another. And of course, studying just Drosophila is already a thing that goes on for 30 years, and we are still learning. So
but we
it is,
know,
of course,
we know quite a bit about that animal, and we know quite a bit about. In fact, we know how all of the body parts develop. We know how the nervous system develops. We and nowhere in there have we seen a neuronal spikes.
I would say, for example, that neurons are irreducibly complex, since you said there is no irreducible complexity. So I would say that the neurons, they need membrane channels. They need 4 membrane channels, and if one of those is missing, then you do not have action potential. And I can link to that, and you can have a look. And then you can see that each of these ion channels, they are essential in order to have the potential.
I know about neurons. I know quite a bit about ion channels and neurons, and I don't see any problem with them evolving.
Well, I do, because you have there 4 membrane channels, ion membrane channels, and all 4 of them, they are essential. They are needed in order to have the action potential. And if one of those is missing, you don't have the action potential. And by themselves alone, they have no function. They work in a joint venture together. So you have to ask, how did this evolve?
We always ask, how did this evolve? That's kind of the whole game. That's what we're working on, is how did this evolve? As far as neurons evolving, there's been a lot of work done on that too, and nobody has found for irreducible complexity in neurons. There are signals.
Well, Michael, I think you need to think for yourself. You don't have to think, oh, because nobody thinks that, so I don't either. That's not how I approach these.
No, I've read the literature, and I've read it, and I've scanned something. I mean, I would have to look into neuronal evolution specifically for this discussion, but I have looked at it, and I do think for myself. I don't just listen to what nobody. In fact, nowhere in any of the books that I've read have they ever said naturalism is true. Yet on your side, you're saying idea is true and God is true. Okay, nowhere in my scientific.
What they say
never told me to not believe in God.
What they claim is that evolution is true, and that is the very foundation of modern biology, and that is the whole issue in question. If that is true, if everything that we see in biology can be explained by natural means without invoking the injection of information by intelligence. And that goes back to Darwin, and that is what is in dispute, actually.
It's not. It's only in dispute with young Earth creationists, and with people that deny evolution. There aren't that many of you compared to the rest of us. So when you study science, you don't run into this stuff. Nobody talks about God. Nobody talks about naturalism.
Well, nobody talks about God because the whole foundation is based on methodological naturalism, and operational science is okay. But when it comes to historical sciences, then it is, in my view, not okay, because a priori you exclude one possible explanation, which is design.
Okay. Molecular alchemy says here, unless you are performing the experiments yourself, then you are using interpretation of experts. So you have referred to a number of papers. And how are you then not appealing to experts yourself? I mean,
I appeal to.
How am I doing this any more than you are doing it?
Well, what I am doing is I look into the evidence, which of course is provided by secular peer-reviewed papers from science journals. That is the evidence. Now, I don't necessarily go with the inference of these papers, which always go with evolution, because that is the foundation of modern biology. I am free to conclude other conclusions.
Yeah, and you do, and basically, I guess that's where we're disagreeing. We're looking at different data sets, I'm sure. Okay, but
let me link to
vastly different.
I would like I would like to demonstrate to you what I'm talking about, the irreducible complexity of neurons. I am Can you put that on the screen, Michael, please?
We're going to the complexity. Okay, we're going to talk. If we're going to talk about the evolution of neurons, then I'm going to go spend a couple days reviewing that material, and then
no. I just want to show you how I back up my claim that neurons are irreducibly complex. It's not a long read. It's just 4 small sentences. Can you put that on the screen?
Hang on a second here. I'm trying to catch up. Oh my God! Really, fish? There are that many of them. What are we up against? Okay, so we have another link. And we're back to your blog. I had all your stuff actually queued up, except that I have so many windows open right now that I'm losing the thread.
Okay, let me just answer to Shady. Why do you think you know more about? Actually, I don't know more. I'm not pretentious to know more or less than others, but I have to stop here. But what I see in biology, to me, in my understanding, points to intelligent design. Now, let us check here. That you can see here. These are the 4 channels, membrane channels in neurons, which are essential.
Let's not go down into any deep pits here, because all you're going to do is tell us how complex the human neuron is, or the vertebrate.
No, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is.
Let's get to the point. Let's not read this paper. Let's get to the point.
I just want to demonstrate to you, Michael, that you have here listed 4 voltage-gated channels, which are all 4 of them essential in order for a neuron to function. And by themselves alone, they have no function. So you have to ask yourself. They do have function.
No, these voltage-gated ion channels have function in many other cells. All of these do, in fact, have functions in other cells. And there's no reason they all come together in a neuron. But what's your point?
My point is that in order for you to have a functional neuron, you need these 4 channels all together in place, working in joint venture, in order for having an action potential. So how do you think was the recursion of these 4 channels coordinated in order to have them all together at the same moment, at the same place, at the right position, and then starting to work together to produce an action potential?
How does a zebra exist without a spine and thighs and ankles, and or how does a zebra exist without a spine, a nervous system, a skeletal system? That's what you're asking. I mean, you're looking at a neuron, okay, and you're looking at these 4 channels. These four channels are ubiquitous in other cell types, basically.
Okay, let's suppose
that's
they are.
How it happened.
Okay.
Suppose we don't have to suppose. We can tell you they are.
No, okay. I am agreeing with you on that.
So they all came together and they created a neuron. So what is your point?
Well, how did that happen? How did they coordinate to come together to create a neuron? How did
zebras happen? Are we going to have to go back and explain the entire path of evolution in order to convince you that a neuron exists? I mean, you're asking for the entire complex creation of neurons 4.2 billion years after this whole thing started, and you're claiming that it can't start. But if you want to talk about neuron evolution, we'll take a few days and we'll meet again in like 3 or 4 days and we'll discuss that. I mean,
I think it would be okay that we discuss just that specific subject. Okay, let's suppose these 4 membrane channels, they were pre-existing in other organisms, somewhere, I don't know where, and so forth, but there were no neurons, okay? So If you take just one of these channels, you don't have a functional neuron. If you take two, you have not a functional neuron. If you take three, you don't have a functional neuron. You need all four of them to have function, and you need the neuron membrane, you need the lectin structure to make these tubes in the neurons. You need a bunch of things together in order to have functionality. I don't fathom how that could occur by a stepwise process during long periods of time where an intermediate stage would have no function.
How do you know that?
Let me give you an example, Michael. Okay, let me give you an example. What are solar panels good for?
Okay, no, we're not going to look at human machines and come up with some sort of weak analogy. Okay, there's if we want to talk about the human nervous system, we want to talk about the evolution of the neurons, then I am not ready to talk about that because I don't talk out of my ass. I don't talk out of my ass. I like to know what I'm talking about. So I would have to go back and do some review and find some literature, and we would have to meet again and talk about that. But we've gone way afield here. We're talking about an existing structure 4.2 billion years down the road of evolution, and you're drawing the conclusion that it's intelligently designed. I'm telling you, if you want to talk about how this thing evolved, then we need to do some homework, both of us. We can't just start.
Well, I've done it.
We have this wonderful thing.
I've done it. You can see my work on my library. What you show here on the screen. That is my investigation. What I did in regards of that.
I prefer to draw my own conclusions and do my own.
Of course, you're free to do that, Michael. You can do your research if that is a topic that is of interest for you. Feel free to investigate by yourself and then come up with a narrative which is rational, that explains how neurons evolved and how they got these 4 voltage-gated channels and how they became functional by evolutionary means.
And what is the answer? What if the answer is we don't know all the details yet? Then I'm going to ask you, how did God do it? How did God do it?
I don't know. I have no idea how the interface.
Okay, so you accept that that's a valid answer, right? I don't know. I don't know is a valid answer.
In regard of that specific question, how does God create things? It is a justified answer to say we don't know, because we don't know how the interface mind-brain works, but we do know that intelligence.
We do. No, that would be another topic for us to discuss. But yeah, we know a lot about what mind is, and we know what thoughts are, and we know how we move our limbs, and we know how the central nervous system works. That has been going on for the last 30 years, and we know a great deal about it.
Well, if you can explain to me how that interface mind-body works, then I am very interested to know more about it, because what I have studied so far, I have not seen any valid explanation how that works.
That's because you believe in a spirit mind. So your first premise is that it can't work. Your first premise is dualism. But that's another topic. Okay, no, we're not going to go there either.
Yeah.
Let's see. Asking for a paper. Okay, do you have a paper that describes neuron evolution? Molecular Academy wants to know.
No, not immediately now.
Okay. Well, let's call it a day, and maybe we'll have another discussion. But you understand? Okay, we started out with this idea you have that zygotes can't develop with some sort of bioelectric interference from neuronal spikes or the central nervous system.
No, let me clarify.
That's where we started out.
No, don't strawman me. I explained you that the first, I didn't find the section where it explains it, but I can find it afterwards. We can talk about this again. But there is a part which is informed by the zygote. And when there is a certain level of development, then the central nervous system takes over.
Okay, could you run that by me one more time?
There is during the development from the beginning until the developed organism, there is a takeover somewhere during that progress where the first part is informed, the development is informed by the zygote, by the information in the zygote, and then there is a transition where the central nervous system takes over and starts with that bioelectric code and informs the cells how to develop in the organism. But let me just explain, that is just
No,
one.
the organism is almost fully formed. The layout of the morphology of the organism is fully in place, and the neurons are they grow along with the muscles. Basically, the axons are directed into areas, and before the nervous system ticks off and takes over, most of the development of the organism has been laid out. The structure that we know that it's going to be a human being, a zebra, or a Drosophila. There's nothing that lays out that morphology other than the genes, the zygote, and the world around it, the environment in which the zygote develops. So we know that much. The neurons don't start ticking up until quite a bit, many possibly weeks into the development, depending on the organism. And then the CNS takes over. So it goes upward. It goes upward to the central nervous system. And the central nervous system develops based on movement in the world. Okay. The neurons start firing, muscles twitch, there's movement, there's feedback, and there's a whole system of development. And that's how the nervous system comes up. There's nothing about the nervous system having any control over morphology, other than this one paper you have on planets and electromagnetic fields, which have nothing to do with neurons.
Okay, let's do following. Since we are on that topic, and I agree with you, we should stay just at one topic. Why don't you put on the screen again the link? Take the link of my library where I copy the information from the science papers, and then we can go over it. Maybe we find the section where it demonstrates that the bioelectric codes, they take over when the central nervous system starts to be developed and formed in the embryo.
You have a paper for that?
No, I did copy it at my blog here, but I didn't find where it explains it, where it says it. So maybe you can copy it again on the screen and we can read it. Maybe we find it where it says so and have a closer look to it.
Was that paper by Levin and Martyniukb?
I think so. No, let me see. It is the bioelectric code, an ancient computational medium for dynamic control of growth and form.
Could you hang on a second? I have some bookkeeping to do. Oh, let's see.
I am copying you the link on Science Direct. If you want, you can. Okay.
Okay, let's see. So the last paper. So this is a Science Direct paper, and that is, let's see. I'm starting to burn out a little bit here, Otangelo. And when I do, it's a train wreck. That's 11 that you just copied me. We already have 11. I have 11. Let's see. Large scale anatomy.
I think it is 2017, no?
Let's see. Maybe it was a different one.
This one is from 2nd of September 2017. The last one, which I copied to you right now. The bioelectric code, an ancient computational medium for dynamic control and growth.
Bioelectric code. Okay. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Otangelo, we have to end this here.
Okay.
I will take a look at these two papers. Maybe we get together again and we could revisit this particular conversation.
Yeah, I will try to find the section where it explains where it takes over, where the signals in the bioelectric code take over, and then we can have a look at it again.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look at that. And if you want to delve into the evolution of neurons, then I could also look at that.
Well, as said, my conclusion is that these 4 voltage-gated channels had to be there together in order for the neuron to work. That is my conclusion, and therefore the neurons.
No. That's your premise. That's your premise. God is your premise.
No. That's my conclusion. No. That's my conclusion, Michael. That's not my premise.
So
that's my conclusion.
Okay, but how come you don't know what papers you looked at for the evolution of neurons? If that's
well, first of all, I did investigate this in 2017, 3 years ago. So everything that I investigated is at my library. So you can check there the source of my information and everything else. And well, as I said, it is an interesting topic. We can discuss it again. No problem.
Okay, that'll be good. But bring papers, and it would be good if we're gonna reference papers before we did this. If we emailed the papers, we're gonna reference back and forth each other so that I can make sure that I buy them or that I find them if they're public, and we can have those up in advance.
I don't buy any papers, Michael.
Oh, okay. Don't. But I do. Okay. So don't.
No problem. Now, the papers that I use, the information that I use to make my inference, they are quoted. You can see each channel is the quote where I take the information from.
Okay, so all of the papers that you have are quoted in your
yes,
your blog.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I quote everything.
I have links.
Everything that you see on my blog that is written in black, that is the information, the evidence which I subtract from the science papers and from the internet. Everything that I write in green is my understanding as the inference of the information of the evidence.
Okay. Let's see. Hang on a second here. I'm trying to handle something. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty burnt out. Cool topic or cool discussion so far. We kind of went in circles a few times, but hang on a second here. I have to give somebody my email address. Alt-C. Let's see. I didn't copy it all at gmail.com. How long have we been on the air? For an hour and 43 minutes. That's usually my the limit of my brain capacity when we're going around in circles so badly. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to look into neuronal evolution, and we're going to look into this bioelectric code, and I'm going to read all the papers that you downloaded, and then we'll get together again, and we will hammer this out. How about that?
Okay. When you feel ready, when you think you have some picture of these two topics, we can chat again together and look together about the evidence, and then see what we understand upon this.
Okay. Yeah, we got some comments. Have you been watching a live chat at all? Origins or bust. James Downard is. Do you know RJ? Otangelo?
Yes.
Okay, you know him. Okay. He'd probably,
Yeah. I know these figures for a long time on Facebook, so They are not the new guys to me.
I'm sure he. Oh my God, I missed a whole bunch of chat, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, let's see. I just want to go through and take a look at some of the chats here. I'm horrible at watching chat when I'm trying to read papers and think at the same time. I can't think and chew bubblegum at the same time. So anyway, okay, good talk. I think we'll end it here. And I'm hoping that all of you, Molecular Alchemy, I'm hoping that you email me. We can have a talk. And RJ, of course, we do talk. So maybe RJ wants to talk to you at some point. What do you think of that, Otangelo?
No problem.
Okay, that would be an interesting thing. Okay, okay. So we're gonna go have sandwiches and take naps. How about that?
Okay. It was nice to talk to you, Michael. And when you're ready to have another chat, just shot me an email.
Yeah, Walking Fish and Immutable probably want to talk to you at some point again too. So maybe we can have. I think we did well. We kept it friendly, right? You feel well treated?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Okay.
Even when I don't feel well treated, I try to remain friendly, and I don't like the smoky style. So
No, none of the smoky shit is going to happen here. We're not going to. We will not treat you badly here as long as not on my watch. Okay. So I mean, we differ really fundamentally in our ideas, and it can get a little bit heated when it comes to the science once in a while. But you will be treated with respect, and the amount of work you've done on this blog is commendable, and I'm in awe of the amount of work you've done. So I appreciate that. Okay.
Okay, great. So nice talking to you, Michael, and until next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, I'm going to call it here. Unless one of you guys want to stop in. I think I'm burnt out. I think I'm going to leave. We'll end the program here, and we will talk offline. Goodbye, guys.